Math 2, Unit 9, Section 4. Today we're talking about volumes of pyramids and cones. So we just watched a short video clip that showed us that if you have a pyramid with a base, the volume is still your base times width times height, or base times, you guys know, base area times your height, except for you're going to have to divide it by 3. So if you look in your books, it has the 1/3 and then your base area times the height. Okay, so basically, you guys, for most of these formulas, as long as you remember how to find your base area, all you're doing is then multiply by height. And then for pyramids and cones, or for pyramids here, we're just dividing by 3. So again, I'm just going to write this out. So 1/3 times my base area times the height. So does it really matter what your base is? Not necessarily, right? We could have different figures of the base. You could have a hexagon, you could have a pentagon, you could have a square. And once you find that area, then you multiply by the height and divide by 3. Okay? So we're mainly dealing with square bases, but you could have different types of bases. Okay, so on this got it problem, we're going to move on now to page 573. It says a sports arena shaped like a pyramid has a base area of 300,000 feet. So they're already telling you what the base area is. You don't have to find the base area. Okay? And it tells you that it has a height of 321 feet. What is the approximate volume of the arena? So what am I going to end up doing?
Multiplying and dividing it.
Good. We're going to take 300,000, because that's my base area, right? So that's my big B, times my height, which is
312. 321.
321. And then what do we divide by if it is a pyramid?
3.
3. Okay. Now, I know that 3 goes into 300,000, and I can cancel these out, and that makes a 1. Okay? So we end up getting 300 and 321, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So going backwards, that makes
32,100,000.
very good. 32,100,000 feet cubed for the volume.
It's like 3 pyramids goes into a cube thing.
Okay, do we have questions?
Divide that by 3. Or you can multiply by 3.
Okay, moving on. We're still on page 573. You have a building there. So it's always good to go through in the problem and figure out the important information. It says the Transamerica Pyramid Building in San Francisco is 853 feet tall. Do we think that's information? Good information.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Also, the fact that it's telling you that it's a pyramid is also important. Okay, with a square base of 149 feet on each side. Okay, some of you forgot about this when you were doing your homework last night, but when you have a square base, that means that the 2 dimensions that you multiply to get your area are what? They're the same, right? And so our base area on this, what 2 numbers would I multiply to get the base area? No.
149 times 149.
149 times 149 gives you your base area. Okay, so right there, that is your big B. That is your base area. And then your height is what?
853.
853. And because this is a pyramid, I end up dividing by 3. Okay? So use your calculators. And it says round to the nearest thousand.
Like, you divide that by 3.
Round to the nearest thousand.
to the nearest thousand.
You could have a high five.
Okay, so to the nearest thousand would be 6,312,000 feet cubed.
That's insane.
So that's a large volume.
Shut up, Kyle.
It's not right.
I'm trying to.
I'm also recording. Okay, number 2. I'd like you to try this one on your own. When you get the answer, raise your hand and I'll come around and check it.
Divided by 300. $900.
Yes, good.
Wow.
She's recording.
Okay, so
Just say the things. Essentially like going back over it. Here's like or your see what? Whoa. You had your back up. Let me see what.
And like matches your hair too.
okay, so on this problem, it tells you that it is a square pyramid. We know what about squares?
All sides are equal.
All sides are equal. So if one side is 10 inches, the other side is also 10 inches. In order to find the area of a square, what do I do? Yeah, your base times height, length times width, however you want to call it, 10 times 10. You multiply those together. That right there is my base area. Times my height, which is what? 9. But because it's a pyramid, we have to end up dividing by.
Trace.
Very good. So when you work through this, 3 goes into 9 3 times. So 10 times 10 is
100.
times 3 equals.
300.
And it's 300 what?
Inches cubed.
I mean, cube.
Good, because volume, we're multiplying 3 dimensions. Good. Questions? Okay, moving on to page 574. What is the volume of the square pyramid with base edge 24 meters and a slant height of 13? Does the slant height matter to us?
Definitely not.
No, the real height matters to us. Okay, so first of all, in this one, we know that each of our bases, it's 24 by 24, right? And so the issue here, because we can kind of write the problem, we know our base area is 24 times 24, but I need to find what my height is. And then we divide by 3. Does anybody have any idea? Actually, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. So in your group, how could we figure out what the height is? What am I going to have to do?
No idea.
Sorry. You need to believe in yourself. Yeah, Pythagorean theorem.
I don't.
Oh,
Why do you have a picture?
Oh, yeah, there's a picture.
it says the side equals what, half the perimeter of the base times.
Is that a radius?
Okay, who thinks they know?
Like 12.
Okay, Shelby, what would you do?
Pythagorean theorem.
How? Like where, what numbers, and how'd you get them?
Well, you could use, since there's the straight line in the middle that makes a 90-degree angle, you can use that line, and then you can use the side, which it would make it 12 because it would be only half of it, and then it tells you your slant height is 13, and then if you know that it's a Pythagorean triple, it's 5, 12, 13.
Wow.
Now you can solve for the other thing.
Okay, So the Pythagorean triple thing might have thrown some of you off. But before that, all of this is correct. So we know that the height on all these figures makes a perpendicular line, which makes a 90-degree angle. Okay, so your height will always go down and make a 90-degree angle. And so what I've done here is I just took the triangle out of the pyramid. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you have this slant height right here. This is your slant height is going along the side of the pyramid. And they told us the slant height was 13. If your whole base is 24, this portion is half of it. Your radius there is half of it, which is 12. And so we can use our Pythagorean theorem, if you don't remember the Pythagorean triples, and solve for the height. Okay, and so we'd have x squared plus 144 equals, and 13 squared is 169. We subtract 144 to both sides, and we have x squared equals 25. We take the square root and find that that missing length is 5. So that means my height is 5. Okay? So we don't care about the slant height, we just care about the height. But we had to use the slant height in order to find the height. Okay? Because that represented our hypotenuse. Okay? 3 can go into 24 8 times, and then we multiply 8 times 24 times 5. 960 what? Meters cubed is correct. Does anybody want me to go back through and talk about some of that? Okay. Now I want you to try problem number 3. Okay, still on page 574. So on page 574, number 3. Okay, so it says find the volume of each square pyramid given its slant height round to the nearest tenth. So, do you think you guys can do this one?
Maybe.
Okay. If you get the answer, raise your hand and I'll come around and check.
Caleb, do you keep selling off pencil?
No.
Where do you keep track of this?
I jumped like 16 feet. Drop to nearest 10. 10.9. No, that's just the height. Then you have to do 11 times 100. Oh, to the nearest 10. So it is 10. So do 10.9 times 100. That's just 1, 2, that's 1,000. That's 1,090. That's 1,090. You're dumb. It was 1,090 divided by 2. Divided by 3? 36, 363.3.
10 times 12. Then we can use, so it'd be 1,200, right?
I kept that as 10.9 and it says round to the nearest 10.
10 times,
Yeah.
10.9 times 11 is 1,090. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty close. You did a lot. I made this 10.9.
This equals 5, this equals 12, and this
I'll have my
height
friends
is 10.9.
Good.
10.9 times 12. Yes.
Okay, so the few of you that I checked, most of you got it correct. So if we are setting up our formula, how do I find the base area? What would that be? 10 times 10, and then we still have to multiply by our height. So that's my base area times height, and then we divide by
3.
Thank you. 3, because of it being a pyramid. Okay, So if I take out this triangle, what is the base of my triangle? 5. What is the hypotenuse? 12. And we're trying to find that other leg. So we have x squared plus 5 squared equals 12 squared. X squared plus 25 equals 144. Okay, in order to x by itself, we subtract 25. X squared equals, when you subtract, you get 119. When you take the square root, since in the problem it says round to the nearest tenth, I'm going to round this value to the nearest tenth. When I do that, what do I get? 10.9. So my height is 10.9. So then you go through and you multiply, and I would just type these numbers into my calculator, and we're rounding to the nearest tenth, and so you should get 363.3 meters cubed. Okay? Any questions there? Okay. Are we good? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anybody that got it wrong, do you see what happened? No? Oh, you got it right.
Yes.
So again, base area, 10 times 10. We found the height by using the Pythagorean theorem. And then we divide by 3 when we have a pyramid, because it's a third of the volume. Okay. Could we do number 4? We're going to skip number 4. Okay. You can do it on your own, though, if you want to. All right, page 574. So now we have a cone. What is different about a cone from a pyramid?
They're rounded.
It has a different base. Okay? It is the same formula. Okay? It's the same formula as a pyramid. It still goes up into that point. It is still a third of the volume. Does that make sense? So if you look here, again, your volume is 1/3 times your base area times the height. It looks like you have multiple formulas, but it's the same formula. You just always have to find your base area. Okay? So on a cone, how do you find the area of a circle? Pi r squared. Okay, so on this example here, there aren't any numbers, but do we understand that the base area is pi r squared? Okay. Let's move on now to page 575.
Yay.
Okay, we're looking at number 5, chemistry. It says, in a chemistry lab, you use a filter paper cone to filter a liquid. The diameter of the cone is 6.5 centimeters. Now, does the diameter matter? No, what do we need to do in order to find the,
Divided by 6.
we need the radius. And so the radius is 6.5 divided by 2, which would be,
3.5.
very good. Okay, and it says, and its height is 6 centimeters. Our height is 6 centimeters. It says, how much liquid will the cone hold when it is full? Okay, so again, in order to find the volume, we're going to write our formula. It's our base area times height divided by 3. In this figure, what will be my base area? What am I going to plug in for base area?
3.25 to square root 2.
Good. 3.25
Second power.
squared, oops, times pi, because the area of a circle is pi r squared. That's a 2. Is everybody okay with that? And then times my height. What's my height?
6.
6, and then we're going to divide by 3. I like to reduce this. So 3 goes into 6. 2 times, and I would go ahead and we can just multiply by 3.14 for pi. So you do in your calculator, let's go ahead and kind of go through this together. 3.25, you can see that, squared equals this, and then I'm going to go times 2 equals times 3.14 equals. I did 2 because I reduced the 3 and the 6. You could have gone times 6 and then divide by 3. And so I end up getting to the nearest tenth. That will be 66.3 what?
Centimeters squared.
No.
Cube.
Centimeters cubed.
That's what I said.
Okay, do we have questions? All right, number 6, page 576. What? Okay, so again, shh, listen up. It says, the cone has a filter that was being used to remove impurities from a solution but became clogged and stopped draining. The remaining solution is represented by this shaded region. How many cubic centimeters of the solution remain in the cone? So basically we have this larger cone, but we're only looking, it's at the part that's shaded, okay? There are only 2 pieces of information that we need to know in order to find this answer, and that is your radius and the height. Do we know the radius on this shaded region?
1.5.
Good. My radius is 1.5. Is anybody confused by how we got that? How did we get it?
Divide 3 in half.
3 is the diameter. You find your radius by dividing by 2. What is my height? 2. Okay, for time's sake, we're going to do this together. But again, my volume is base area times height divided by 3. What will I write for my base area? Okay, remember that for a cone, the base area is pi r squared. Okay, so that means for my volume, it's going to be what?
1.5
Good. 1.5 squared times pi times
the height
2, and we divide that by
base.
3. I would multiply all those numbers into my calculator and then divide by 3 because 3 doesn't go into any of those numbers evenly. Okay, when you do that, what do you get?
4.7. I think so, right? Okay.
Four-
4.17 centimeters cubed.
4.7 centimeters cubed.
17.
I got 71. 4.71.
Oh crap.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I just mixed them up.
So let's type it in here just to confirm. So 1.5 squared. And then I take that and I multiply it by 2. And multiply it by 3.14. And then I divide by 3.
So
And I get 4.71. And to the nearest 10th, 4.7 centimeters cubed left. Any questions?